Hello everyone, this is Flatline, and today I'm going to be doing a PvZ video. It's going to be the standard PvT kind of breakdown. Since I already did PvT and some people still need help on PvZ, might as well do it. Now this is a little bit harder than to kind of talk through compared to PvT. PvT is kind of solid, it's kind of stale in the sense that there's a clear path that Terran does, and there's a clear path that Protoss does, and so it's kind of easy to just go through the motions. Now for PvZ it's a little bit different because there's so many styles, so many different ways for Protoss to open, for Zergs to open. It can get pretty weird. So there's two ways you can open up as Protoss. You can go for the Forge expand, you can go for a Gateway expand. In this game I'm going for the Gateway expand, but I'm still going to cover up the Forge expand. So the Forge expand, you do get a slightly better economy in the mid-game stage because you do get your natural very quickly. When you go for the pylon at the natural, and then you scout to see if you could go for a Nexus first or not. The timing to know when you go Nexus first or not is right here. That is a 15 pull. And you see the timing of that? That was around 158, but they can actually get it at 155. So if they get a 15 pull, you will know that if it's at 155 or later. If you don't see a spawning pool being placed at 155, that's when, if you are in Forge Expand or 9 Scouting, you could go straight to their natural and then just patrol, because you know it's going to be a 15 pull or later, and you're going to block them off from going for a hatch first. So that's the cool thing about it. The downside to a Forge Fast Expand is that you are going to allow Zergs to get 3 bases very, very quickly and very easily without gas, without investing into some kind of tech. And that's where it becomes really hard, because if you allow them to do that, they're just gonna have a huge economy in the mid-game stage, and it's just up to you if you can actually do some damage or even up the playing field by getting a quick third base as well. And getting a quick third base will allow them to get a quick fourth base, and so on and so on, or they could pressure you at the third base, and sometimes it could get pretty hard to hold depending on the map itself. Now, talking about the Gateway expand, be the one that I'll probably talk about the most, because the Forge expand was pretty much the standard back in Wings. Gateway expand has been pretty popular since then for Heart of the Swarm, and the reason why is because of the Mothership. The Mothership is an amazing unit in Heart of the Swarm for Protoss, where you're able to play a little bit more greedy than you are able to in Wings, because of the fact that you have no recharge. You have this unit that shoots ground units, and you know Zergs don't really have anything that can shoot air except Queens, and they're really not going to have any Queens on your side of the map early in the game. So that's going to allow you to play pretty greedy if you do a Gateway expand. So the Gateway expand is you're going to get a slightly later Nexus, but you're going to be able to do some kind of damage with them. You can actually pressure them. They can't get a very quick third base. Like you see he has to get gas, he has to get speed. This is where it becomes really difficult for Zergs. And a lot of Zergs don't like facing Gateway expands because they're so used to the Wings of Liberty style, where they're able to, you know, go in autopilot mode, get a third base, drone up to like 60, and then start making units. Whereas for a Gateway expand, they can't really do that. I will kill that drone. They have to get gas, they have to make units, and they actually have to scout pretty early in the game. 7 minutes is around the time they're going to try to scout inside the base, because that's about the time you'll kind of commit to a tech if you are Protoss. That is the latest if you do a Gateway expand. And when he goes inside my base, he's actually going to see nothing because my intentions are to expand to a quick third base behind us. I'm just going to go for 3 gates with the forge and expand. So this is where it becomes a little bit different. There are builds where you're playing pretty aggressive, where you'll have up to 4 gates. Instead of this a third forge, it'll be a 4th gate. And that's kind of like that Nani-Wall-esque build where you'll have a lot of zealots, you'll warp into a lot of zealots, you'll try to do a lot of damage. And that could get pretty solid as long as the Zerg player does get a 6-minute roach warning. This guy gets a little bit later one, but it still doesn't matter because I'm not going for that kind of pressure anyways. The next thing is either you go for a tech or you could go for an expand. So you could go for the Stargate build. That's pretty much the most common one. The Stargate build is going to allow you to gain map control in a sense that you can see where the Zerglings are, you can kill the overlords, put them in a supply block, force spores, force him to play a little bit more defensive back at his base to deal with the phoenixes or whatever you're going to try to use with your Stargate units. And that kind of gives you that map control and allows you to get a quick third base behind that. Well, it's not as quick as this one, but you are still able to put on some kind of pressure and still expand behind it. The next tech I'm just going to talk about is the forge, the Robo. The Robo is generally going to be used to go for like some kind of all-in with Immortals or Colossus. But there are starting to be more popularities where you're going to be able to go for the Warp Prism macro wise. You can put like 4 stalkers inside a Warp Prism or whatever you want to put inside a Warp Prism. Go around with them, with observers and kill out creep. You can have 4 zealots inside the Warp Prism, and with the Warp Prism micro you can actually drop them and trap some queens. Alright, so I'm going to actually pause this because this is something really important I do want to go over besides going over the benefits of every tech. The other tech before I actually dive into this is going to be Twilight. Twilight, I believe it was Crank that started to show popularity, as well as Parting. Parting actually showed this first before Crank. The cool thing about getting Twilight and then Expand is that your upgrades are going to be, you're generally going to get your forge very, very quickly, so you're going to be able to get your upgrades super quickly, super fast, super fast. I'm talking about maybe 12 to 13 minutes you'll have +3 pretty much almost done compared to the other builds. That's pretty fast for Protoss, so that's one benefit of having a very quick Twilight Council, as well as getting Blink with it. Other people that do get fast Twilight Council are able also to get DTs really quickly out. It's about 9 minutes at the latest. And what that does is that it kind of gives you map control, but the only thing I don't really like about that is that it's right here. Their layer is pretty much going to be finished up around 9 minutes, so they can't have an overseer, and they always plot down some spores as well. But if you go for a very quick DT, sometimes you're going to be able to get this hatchery at the third base, so that's the cool thing. So we're going to go to my vision, kind of show you what the motion should be. Now, a lot of people keep on forgetting what you need to do as Protoss is to constantly send hallucinations. Do you see a lot of links? Gotta make sure you also SimCity wall. So here we go. I see a lot of links. What is he up to? Oh, roaches. So when you see this early in the game, they are committing to some kind of pressure to kind of deny your third base. What you want to do is, if you have to, well, I have all of these queued up. This is really embarrassing, but I'm pretty sure I'm going to unqueue all of this. Pretty sure. What you want to do is you want to prioritize making a lot of units and chrono boosting your warp gates, because you need to make sure you have a lot of units to defend this, because he's committed to this kind of pressure. All you have to do is defend it and you'll be in good shape. We'll see if I actually do. Please tell me. Yep, I do. Cool. So I do unqueue all of those up. And you see I do actually use the warp gate, chrono boost on the warp gates. You just need units. He has a lot of units, and you just have to match them up. Even if you don't have to make, even if you have to stop making probes, that's totally fine. Because you have to remember they weren't making drones, in the sense that they're actually making units. So you just have to defend that, and you're gonna be okay. Alright, so now you're gonna kill these rocks. You want to kind of SimCity your way. This is another thing to learn about, is SimCity right here. 2 gateways, 2 pylons, and a cannon in between. It's a very, very nice thing. What this does is it allows it where only one link's going to be able to kill off the photon cannon, so you're going to be able to kill a lot of lanes in the process if you do it like this. So here's the most standard. You're going to go Robo Twilight. Usually you get the Twilight and the Robo around 50% of when the Forge is done. And you're going to get a Robotics Bay. I did get a Dark Shrine really early in the game, but it's not necessary. So here we go. I'm going to scout. You got to make sure you constantly scout with hallucinations. One thing that I'm trying to emphasize a lot in PvZ is because Zerg is really easy to tech switch in and out to what they want to do. Now I see the Spire. My response is a double Stargate. Now this is a huge committed tech in the sense that if he doesn't go for Midas, I can be in trouble unless I make Void Rays. So if he's not going for Midas, I'm going to make Void Rays, and I'm going to make Colossus and go into that Colossus Void Ray transition or army composition. If he is making Midas, I am going to be making my Phoenixes. Now because I saw the Spire, this means he wants to go for some kind of tech switch. So I'm going to try to go over here and contest this base. And I'm just going to defend this with some Warpins, the cannon, and my Immortal here. And here I am going to recall back. But at the same time, leaving these 4 Zealots over here to kill off this entry. And here comes his Midas. So now I've confirmed it is Midas. And you can kind of tell if it's Midas or not just by how is he reinforcing. If he's reinforcing with links, he's saving up his gas for something else. 95% of the time it's going to be Phoenixes, so just chrono boost out your Phoenixes. Once you get up to 8 Phoenixes, that's when you can decide to go back into Void Rays, unless he goes for a transit. Unless he still continuously makes Midas, you should try to transition into Void Rays after 8 Phoenixes. So denying bases with DTs can be really, really nice. And the cool thing about having DTs is that it keeps kind of Zerg on their side of the map. Look where they're at on this map. They are not on my side of the map, they're back at their side of the map because they have to defend this kind of pressure. Here comes Midas into my main. I was trying to put some cannons up. It's okay though to lose a couple of probes because at the same time your DTs are harassing them his side of the map. So I'm sending my army over there to his side of the map. His army's not that strong. And the other thing you need to note when they're going Midas like this and he's still committed to Midas is that their upgrades on the ground are going to be pretty horrendous. Mine are only 1 because he sniped that +2 attack. They're going to be pretty horrendous. So you should be able to do some kind of timing on them. We're going to be making now. Why did I make this Colossus? Because you still want to have Colossus, guys. Some things people keep on forgetting is that if you are going for this style, this is pretty much the most standard style, I would say. This is probably the safest style to play, is double Stargate and a Robo out 3 base. Because you're going to be able to make either Void Ray Colossus or Phoenix Colossus. Now the Phoenix Colossus is a response against Midas. The Void Ray Colossus is response for everything else that they could possibly do against you, which is going to be Roach Hydra or Swarm Host or something like that. So you do want to have Void Ray Colossus anyways. It's just that when you add on extra units like High Templars and stuff, is going to be in response to Vipers and so on and so on. Now, the reason why you want to have the Colossus is because it rules the ground. It takes out the links super quickly, so you're going to be able to kill off the roaches beyond that. Because most of the time they're going to be heavy on links because they're going to invest all their gas into mutas. And so, since they're going to be all on links, if you do have a Colossus to clear them out, it's going to be really, really nice for you. Oops. Here we go, I'm going for this timing attack. And this is pretty much game over. Because there's really nothing he can do. He's trying to stay behind this forest, which is really nice for his mutas. That way my phoenixes can't go over there and kill him. But he's pretty much dead. You look at the supply, he does have a lot of money. But I do I as well, so this is not the coolest thing in the world for me. But look what I'm transitioning into. I have enough Phoenix, I have 10 Phoenixes. He doesn't have that many metas anymore. I don't think he's going back into metas. And if he does go into metas still, it's okay for me because I still have too many Phoenixes. I could just go back and make Phoenixes. But because I saw that he doesn't have that many metas, transitioning into Void Ray Colossus at this point. And this is the next stage. This could apply to every single matchup, but I do want to emphasize in PvZ, you go for this, it's all about denying bases. This basically turns into a starvation game, where as long as you're both on the same amount of bases, you're going to be in great shape. If you are ahead in bases, you are in amazing shape. If they do have an extra base in you, then it's like basically the same. So denying bases is going to be really, really nice. And so I just have my DT on patrol here, have this DT here, have this War Prism here where the rocks are. So the only expansion he's going to be able to take without me noticing is like this one, but I already killed this one. So I'm gonna get my 4th base. It's super safe. I do need some more gas, and that's kind of like how it turns out in PvZ, is about who can mine the most gas. If you're able to equal out the gas, it's gonna be good for you. But if you're able to get a 4th base and get up to that 7th and 8th gas, it's going to be really, really nice for you. So Void Ray Colossus kills everything at this point, and I have these extra Phoenixes because of the metas, and like I said, he can't really go into metas. Here comes his Hydras, and the Colossus kills out the Void Rays, the Hydras. It just becomes a really, really easy game from here on out. So but yeah, so this is the best thing I could kind of do for PvZ, like breakdown on how to play it out. It's really hard because it's like there's so many styles that Zerg can do. So now I guess I could go over the things that they could do compared to what we could do. I did the Forge expand, the Gateway expand. Now let's go over some Zerg stuff. Now they could do some of the early cheese. I don't really want to go into the early cheese because it's like 6 pull, 7 pull, 8 pull, 9 pull, 10 pull, 11 pull, 12 pull. There's so many different timings of this pull. Just don't die to it, okay? Doesn't really matter. The opening is they're gonna try to do some early aggression. If they're not able to actually punish you, kill off some probes, or hurt your economy, they're not in a good shape. Okay, so pretty simple from that. Now let's go into the regular stuff, which is hatch first or 15 pull. 15 pull is gonna be safe, and they're only gonna do this if you are scouting most of the time, or if they want to play super safe. If they don't see you scouting by their overlords, like they see no probe coming on the way, majority of the time they're going to go for a 15 hatch, which is going to allow them to get a huge economic lead. Now if they don't see you scouting, they are going to assume that you are gateway expanding. So gateway expanding, you can't really punish a hatch first in that case. And because of that, sometimes they'll even go beyond that and go 3 hatch before pull. And that itself is hard to punish with a gateway expand. One way I kind of like to respond, and it's still tested, so I'm not going to actually tell people to do this. I don't encourage anyone to do this, but I am going for a quick third nexus right off the bat once I see that quick third pull. I mean hatch, not pull. Wow. The other thing they could do with the gateway expand is they could go for that hatch first, but the hatch is going to be at your natural, and they're going to make a hatch back at their base, and then they go gas them, pull back at their base. And when they block off your natural, that's where it gets really confusing for Protoss, including myself. What I found to kind of deal with that is to go for Stargate. Stargate, in my opinion, is the best tech to throw down immediately once you see that. Like, don't get warp gate yet. You're still going to be making zealots from the gateway anyway, so you don't really need to make a stalker. You generally want to make 2 zealots to kill off the hatchery, make a mothership core after your Stargate in that sense. So the Stargate's really nice. You could go into Oracle, you could go into Phoenixes. The Phoenixes is a little bit safe and more reliable way of playing it out, in the sense that you're not trying to surprise your opponent with a unit that's going to be able to kill off a lot of drones. Because if they do scout your Stargate, or they have a sense, or they hack, and they see you're going Stargate with Oracle, or Stargate in general, they'll generally have a spore at each base, and should be able to defend against Oracles pretty easily. The Phoenix is a little bit difficult to pull off, but it's more safe and reliable because you don't really care if they have spores or not. You're going to be killing off stranded overlords all on the map. You're going to be able to pick up some drones, transferring to one base to another. You can sometimes trick the queen into moving out of the spore range, since you just hover around their Phoenix and then pull back with the Phoenixes. And if the queen is not on hold position, the queen will run towards the Phoenix, and then once it gets out of spore range, you can pick it up and then kill it off. Things like that's going to be really nice for you with the Phoenix. And the reason why this Phoenix opening does work is because they're so low on drones because of the committed hatch that they put down over here at your natural. They're not going to have that many drones, they're not going to have that many minerals. You're going to lose overlords. They can't do that. They can't really make spores. They can't really make extra queens besides the queens that they're going to be using at their base. Things get really weird for Zerg. They're going to feel really tight with their money. Anyways, after that, let's talk about the mid game now against Zerg. I know this is kind of boring because you're not really seeing anything here. They could go Roach style, or they could go heavy Ling style, or they could go Ling Hydra style. So the double evil Ling is really easy to spot and very easy to punish, because you could get a super fast Nexus. I'm talking like 7 minutes. Should be able to get a Nexus against it. And signs of that is double evos before a layer. and it's being researched, and a late layer coming out from them, because they usually will get a late layer in the process because the gas will be invested into the upgrades before they even get a layer. That's one way you can tell if it's going for heavy Ling style, and at the same time they're not going to have a Roach Warren. The Roach Ling, just have to find a Roach Warren and a Ling. That's pretty much the most standard Wings of Liberty style. It's grown out, like they usually will try to punish a quick third with that if they can. As long as you're on top of your scouting, you should be fine though. And that's kind of like dying out. The Roachling is in response to any gateway timings that they've had experience against, like a gateway expand into 7 gate or something like that. They kind of do need a Roach Warren to kind of deal with that. So that's the safest thing they could do, is go for Roaches. Now, the other thing is the Hydra Ling, and that usually comes around 11 minutes. They'll go for a Ling Hydra attack into either mutas, or they're going to back up and do a Ling Hydra Corruptor timing. The Ling Hydra Corruptor timing is a DRG exposed it first, where he actually uses the Corruptors to kill off the Colossus, and then the Ling Hydra kills everything else. Because if you haven't noticed yet, you kind of rely on the Colossus whenever they do that Ling Hydra timing. So if they're able to kill off your Colossus, then it's going to be really, really nice for you. Now the other style is a little bit more risky in the sense that it sometimes forces a base raid, which is that Ling Hydra into Muta transition. You just had to, like I said, you had to scout it out, had to put down these 2 Stargates. And if you see a Ling Hydra, you had to see their reinforcement. If it's a Lings, then make Phoenixes. You should still be making Phoenixes like 1 at a time, but you don't have to chrono boost them. You only chrono boost them once you see the mutas coming out. So yeah, Ling Hydra can be really difficult, especially when you go for a very fast third. It gets really dicey because your tech is delayed when you go for a fast third. What else am I missing? I guess Swarm Host, I guess. Swarm Host, it's kind of like dealing with mech. It's kind of like dealing with Sky Toss. It's a strong core army or core unit whenever you have to engage into that. But that's the problem. You had to engage into it, which means it's really, really slow. It's really immobile. So try to punish it by being a little bit more on the map. Killing creep tumors is really essential against Swarm Host because the locusts dramatically get slower when they're off creep. Use warp prisms to harass and all that, and expand. I think that's all. If there's anything else I missed, ultras. I'm starting to get into the late game, but ultras, you're gonna go for just a mortal count. Generally, it's like a 1-to-1 count. So whatever they have, as many ultras, that's how many mortals you kind of want. Yeah, if you haven't already, please subscribe to my channel if you haven't. If you like what you see, of course. You can check out my website at flatlinese2.com. It's a little bit more organized than my YouTube channel, where it's breaking down into the matchups itself. So you might find something you want over there, and you can, find some replays and other cool Protoss stuff. And, yeah. So if you have any questions or anything besides that, leave your comments below. But yeah. Anyways, guys, thanks for watching, and I'll see you later.